So here we're looking at this one. We are supposed to have... So looking at this problem, we know the slope-intercept form is supposed to be y equals mx plus b. But something's wrong with this. It's not quite y equals mx plus b. It's not quite fitting the form that we know. What is it that I can do to fix this equation so it does fit the form of y equals mx plus b? What is it that I can do? Najari.
You change the to 3 over 1, and then you add a plus because you change the positive 2 into a negative 2.
Najari is even 2 steps ahead of me because she is not only telling me that I need this to be an addition, so I need to leave change switch, but she's also telling me, hey, Mr. Boots, look at the slope. It doesn't have a change in y and a change in x. All it has is a top part. So I need to make this a fraction form of that number so I have a change in y and a change in x. Perfect, Najari. So our m is 3, our b is negative 2. So what are the coordinates of our y-intercept? Give me the x and the y coordinates for our y-intercept. Blanca, take a risk. 1 and 3. Okay, so you're looking at the slope over here. Remember that our y-intercept has relation to this over here. Felipe, what do you think? Yeah, so it's our y value when x is 0, and so we see our y-intercept over here as negative 2. Remember, we got the negative 2 because we had to do that leave change switch to make it a plus. Isaac. Yeah, so we put the 1 under the 3 to make the whole number have a change in y and change of x. Now we see that our change in y should be adding 3. So I can go down here and I can show that to get these points, all I'm really doing is adding 3 to the y's. And my change in x's is supposed to be adding 1s. That makes it really easy to sort out this t-chart. So let's look at this. We have the negative 2 plus 3 gives us 1. The 1 plus the 3 gives us the next point of 4. Now to get the point before it, remember we have to go backwards, which means we have to do the opposite of adding 3, which is add negative 3 to go backwards. And we get negative 5. And just think through that one forwards again. Negative 5 plus 3 would be negative 2. Okay, that makes sense. And over here on the other side with the x values, 0 plus 1 is 1, 1 plus 1 is 2, and if we went backwards, we would have had to start with negative 1 if we added 1 and got 0. So these are 4 points we could use to graph this. But then again, we've already talked about it, we don't really actually need these points to graph. We can really just start with our y-intercept, which is negative 2, and follow our slope. Our slope is positive 3 over 1, so our change in y's and our change in x's. Increase our y by 3, so that's up 3. Increase our x by 1, forward 1. Up 3, forward 1. Now if I wanted to go the opposite direction to create points, what would I need to do? Well, I need to do the opposite of that. I would need to go down 3 and backward 1. Notice that's the same thing as negative 3 over negative 1. Kip yes or Kip no? Is negative 3 over negative 1 the same thing as positive 3 over positive 1? So look at this over here. Tell me, is this statement true? Oh, sorry, it's slightly off the board. Is this statement true? Is 3 over 1 the same thing as negative 3 over negative 1? And Adari, why do you say yes? Yeah, you're telling me the answer for both of them is 3 because they're both good dates. So it doesn't matter. These are both the same, and that's why we can use either one of them to create points, either by moving up the graph or moving down the graph. All right, so we get this line here. Are there any questions so far? All right, let's look over at the next one. Now the next one's a little bit strange. I think Najari already knows what's strange about it, and she might already have some ideas about it. I have y equals negative 8x, and I need it to be, in order to do this, I need it to be y equals mx plus b. Angelina, what's missing here in my equation that I need to be able to use y mx plus b? I've got the y. What am I missing? Yeah, we're missing the b. So the question is, what can I add here to make this equation? I need a plus something, but I don't want to change the value here. What can I add without changing the value? This goes back to that additive identity idea. Karen, I'm going to make you take a risk because I think you know, but you're not willing to put your hand up. Yeah, plus 0, right on. This is that additive identity. It's not changing the value here. Which tells me that my y-intercept here is 0, which means the coordinates are 0, 0. Jumping on over to our slope. So now let's look at the slope here. Slope is supposed to be change in y over change in x. And I see that my slope given in my equation is negative 8. But that doesn't have a change in y and a change in x. Sophia, what do I need to do to fix this so I have a change in y and a change in x? Yeah, put a 1 underneath it. Just make it that fraction form of the whole number, that improper fraction. All right, so I know that my change in y is supposed to be decreases of 8. These are negative 8s. And my changes in my x's, we have written down, are positive 1s. 0 plus negative 8 or 0 minus 8 gives me negative 8. Minus 8 more gives me negative 16. Going back the other direction, if I needed to make a point that was above it, because actually on this, if we wanted to graph these points, this point down here clearly wouldn't fit on our graph, so we would need another one up here. I need to go backwards, so it'd be the 8 minus the 8 to give me the 0. On our x's, it's plus 1 and plus 1. And if we needed to go backwards, that's the same thing as minus 1, which is negative 1. Last one. Najari's already like, what's wrong with this, Najari?
It's missing the mx.
Yeah, it's missing the m in my mx. Jamari, what's the solution? Yeah, a multiplication of 1 in here. So we know that this is a 1. Our y-intercept is 2, so our point is 0, 2. That's our starting point. Our slope is change in y over change in x. And so our slope is 1, but I need it to have a change in y and change in x. So what do I need to put? Over 1. So that means that we have increases to our y that are 1 and increases to our x that are 1. So if I wanted to graph this, I could have graphed it without these points. Our starting point, or our y-intercept, was 0, 2. And our slope is 1 over 1. So that means we go up 1 over 1. Up 1 to the right 1. Up 1 to the right 1. Or I could go the opposite direction, which would be the opposite. Down 1 over 1. Down 1 over 1. Otherwise, either way, I'm going to get the same line. It looks like this. So the big picture is that in our lesson today, you can take the y-intercept as being your first point, whether you're putting it in a t-chart or you're putting it on a graph. And then all you have to do is follow the change in y and change in x from there, whether it be on the t-chart or on your graph. Super easy. Are there questions moving forward?